Hey everybody, Doug over here at Truth Dyno. I wanted to put together a video of a kind of a cool project that I did recently, converting a carbureted car over to fuel injected car. So in this case, the car was my '69 Chevelle that I've been drag racing for on and off for quite a few years. Had lots of different engine combinations and things like that in there. Um, but for right now, it's just got a 468 Big Block Chevy with a solid roller cam running on E85. So I've run this car on a carburetor for a while now, and I had a Holley Sniper system that was set aside that I had run on another project, and I wanted to go ahead and put it on this car um, for several reasons, which we'll get into later. But I thought it would be interesting, since I did a dyno test on it before and after, to show you the results and see what that looks like. So um, before we get into that, so just a quick summary of kind of the components here. So like I mentioned, this is a 468 Big Block Chevy, solid roller cam. It's got some Pro Max heads on it, 12-to-1 compression, and I run it on E85. Most of my cars I run on E85 just because they're higher compression and it's cheaper. There's a ton of benefits there, which I'm not going to get into on this video. But anyway, started out with a QuickFuel carburetor on it for the first dyno session. So this carburetor was an older QuickFuel E85 carburetor that I had tuned on a engine dyno a while back. Wasn't specifically tuned for this engine, but it was tuned for another very similar engine that I ran it on for a while. It's around 850, 900 CFM, very similar to the Sniper system that I used. And I have had this car to the track with this carburetor, so it'll be interesting to see once I take it back to the track here this spring or summer, see what the difference actually is in performance on the track. So the system I switched over to was a Holley Sniper unit, the first generation one, not the Sniper 2. And actually, this is a system. It was offered for a short period of time. It was called the Sniper Crossflow system or X-Flow system. It has very similar CFM to the carburetor, so it's rated at 900 CFM, and it has 820-pound fuel injectors in it. So on gasoline, if you're using boost or nitrous, it's rated for like 1,375 horsepower. The reason why I chose it is because since I was going to be running this car on the 85, I needed the bigger injector for the added fuel, because the base Sniper units, I believe, only support like 650 horse or something like that. So you have to use something with some more injector for the additional fuel that the E85 requires. So let's go ahead and get into some of the numbers here. So this is a dyno graph comparing the original combination that's in the ghosted lines to the new combination in the darker lines. And I narrowed the scope of this to take off the first part where the dyno grabs a hold of the car and things like that, because there's sometimes you get some weird results in there. And this starts at a pretty high RPM, starts at about 5,850 RPM, just simply because I've got a pretty good sized stall converter in here. And this is where it really starts to smooth out, and you can get a good comparison here. But as you can see, with these ghosted lines, the carburetor combination actually starts out here with a pretty good gain down low. So between 5,900 and 6,000, there's a pretty sizable difference there. So, it's a good 30 plus foot-pounds of torque and almost 40 horsepower there initially, and then it maintains this gap of say around 20, um, around 20 some horsepower, um, and then it narrows out here to, you know, around 6,500 or so, where it gets very similar. Um, but at this point, they're really neck and neck here, uh, just a few horsepower difference. And then at the final end of the test here, the peaks are very, very close. So on the lower RPM range, I tried playing around with adding some additional fuel. I tried playing around um, with some different timing and stuff down there, and I really couldn't get it um, to make up that gap. One of the reasons that I suspect, and I've heard um, other people that have been working with this stuff a lot longer than me talk about this before, is the fact that a carburetor by design is very good at the way it atomizes the fuel and blends the fuel with the air, versus with an injector, you're just spraying it right into the stream. The droplets of fuel are a little bigger, and so it's just not mixed quite as well. And it's really hard to match that quality of mixture that you get out of a carburetor just by the design of it. So um, maybe that's it. But the moral of the story here is there's a pretty sizable difference down there. And, you know, if that holds true, um, you know, at the racetrack, you would definitely notice that, especially down low here. It's going to accelerate the car a little bit better with the carburetor. Now, there's a couple different dynamics in play. I can't go off of the trans brake on a dyno. It just won't. It just won't hold the load. On my chassis dyno, you have to ramp into it. So the dynamics and engine speed and things like that are going to be a little bit different. But if this holds true at the track, I will certainly see it. You know, I'll see it in the 60-foot times, and I'll see it in the, you know, um, 330 times and things like that. So I'll be super curious to see how this whole thing plays out. And hopefully this summer I'll do another video on the results of that. So if you're looking at this and you look at the graph and you say, okay, I spent this time and money to convert my car over from fuel injection to a carburetor, and it appears that I didn't gain a ton of power. Realistically, I probably lost a little bit of power down low. What, uh, why would I do this, or what are the benefits? Well, there's several in my mind, and that's the reasons why I did this project to convert it over. Number one, this is just a bracket car that I sportsman race, so I'm not running any super competitive um, like stock class or anything like that where I need every single individual horsepower. So I'm willing to accept some of the trade-offs. One of the big trade-offs is drivability. So once I set up the fuel injection and I tune it on this one, and this has been my experience on several cars, all of them on E85 as well, that I can get the car to start, idle, and run at pretty much any air temperature, which living in Minnesota is a huge benefit because I can go out and I can get this car to start in the winter, which was almost not impossible, but it was very difficult to do with the E85 race carburetor, with no choke, E85 fuel, and all those other things. It took quite a bit to get it completely warmed up to where I could drive it around and move the car if I needed to. So that one there is huge. The other one is the tunability. So I can change my timing. I can change my air fuel ratios. I can change any of the points in the fuel curve, any of the points in the timing curve, all with a laptop. I don't need to change jets in the carburetor. I don't need to deal with springs or weights in a distributor. I don't need to loosen the distributor clamp and spin the distributor. So to me, that's also a big win as well. It's just a lot more convenient to grab the laptop and be able to go in and make tuning changes. I can also control my fans, electric fans, and electric water pump uh, from the EFI system. So I can set the temperatures that I want those to come on and come off. Have control over that. Um, if I wanted to run nitrous or boost, uh, I have control over. With this system, I can control a single stage of nitrous. I can use progressive control on it. I can control boost with it. Lots of different things that I can do with it. And then finally, there's the built-in data logging component of it. So I can go in and I can log all my different runs when I'm tuning the car, when I'm driving the car. I can see exactly what was going on at that time, what was happening with basically anything that I want to monitor. My fuel pressure, my oil pressure. There's a ton of different sensors, obviously, that you can hook up to these different systems. So it gives you a lot of flexibility there. So after watching this video, seeing the results of the carburetor versus the fuel injection, let me know what you think of the results in the comments. And then let me know if you think that the results here were compelling enough for you to make the switch from a carburetor to fuel injection, whether it's one of the Sniper units or something different. Um, is it worth the benefits, given the cost and effort to switch it over? I definitely think so, but that's obviously individual decision. So let me know in the comments what you think, and thanks for watching.